Richie, his brother was actually on that Monsters of Rock cruise that Jameson and I were on.
Yeah.
Yeah, my
His
brother's a
brother
huge
was
metal
on
guy.
it.
Oh
And
my
he goes,
God.
"Did you go see my buddy Mark?" And he was like, "No, I'm not going to go see comedy."
Yeah, he wouldn't go see the comedy show.
So, John,
Family.
real quick for Richie, I met John through Jameson and Craig Gass
Oh,
and
cool.
Florentine.
Oh, all
They
right.
go down, they
Cool.
go down to John's place called Wine Down, and they brought me down. And
where is it?
Nashville,
well,
Tennessee.
Oh, you're in Nashville. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
We got to go to Nashville, Mark. I got to go with you.
Yes.
100%,
Yeah.
man. I love Nashville.
Yeah, I've
You guys
never
need to do a
been.
takeover of our spot too. Just have it's your night.
We'll do drinks, jokes live, and we'll
Yeah.
bring in all the cool
Oh my
people
God.
that come into your place.
Wouldn't that be cool? I would love it. We would love that.
All right,
We'll
we're
do it
doing
live.
it. We're doing it.
It's an open invitation. Please come.
And we got to introduce our producer, Tony.
Tony.
Hey, John, how are you, buddy?
How you doing, buddy?
Doing all right,
So
thanks. Thanks.
Tony's a comic in his own right, but he's also a gigantic Monkees fan.
I don't admit that to a lot of people, but
I
yes,
was
that's
going
true.
to say, keep that to yourself, Tony.
When he found out that Donna and I were coming to hang out with you guys, he was like freaked out. He wanted to come.
Oh,
I
that's
was.
awesome. You should have been here, man. We had so much fun. We always have fun when we do this. And we have a tiny, tiny bar. So there's no green room. The green room's like the toilet. And they hang out. Sometimes they'll hang outside. They'll sit outside on the sidewalk while somebody else is doing their set. There's no place to go. So everyone's right there. You're exposed. But it's fun. We always have too much fun.
Yeah. Well, your place is like the cement because it's where I met Ray Lynn. It's where I met, because I didn't know Ray Lynn until we came to do the show. And then,
That's right.
I love Raylan.
Yeah, she was on the podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Good.
Yeah.
She came on. And then just last week we had Joe Wooten.
Did you really? Did
Yeah.
Joe do it?
Yeah,
love
right
Joe.
before he was leaving for Australia.
Yeah.
That's right.
As a
I've
matter
been
of fact, we started the podcast, I think it was 2 weeks ago with him, and we just finished it yesterday. That's how much he talks.
Do you know what his brothers call him? His nickname in town is, and it was given to him by his loving brothers. He's called the Right On Brother. Right on, brother. Right on. That's him, man.
All right. Let's go. Mark, we're in a roll. Let's go.
Yeah. Welcome to Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling. I'm your host, Mark Riccadonna, and with me as always,
Richie Byrne.
we have a great guest. It's
We do.
so much fun to have him on. I met him through our friend who's been on the podcast. He's like the Alec Baldwin. How Saturday Night Live has like the 10 Timers Club. Like, I think Don's been on our 10 Timers Club. So Don introduced me to John. John and his wife, they have this awesome place in Nashville called Wine Down Nashville. So if you're ever in Nashville and hankering for a good drink, it's all like super high end, like liquors that you don't really hear of because they're small batches. They have crazy wine, and
That's right.
And also amazing food.
Thank you. My wife would love to hear that because that's her thing. That's her talent, her gift.
Show up, come for the pimento cheese, stay for the comedy.
That's exactly right.
How long have you owned it? How long have you owned it, John?
Man, we're coming up. July will be 4 years. We opened July. Get this, you're gonna love this. 2019 July.
Dude,
it was like this. We hit gangbusters because we're Mark will tell you we're in a small community. We're in Nashville, but we're 5 miles from the city center. We're kind of where the airport is. So it's a quiet little part of Nashville. So we were a big deal coming in. It was like, oh, there's a wine and spirits bar. It's coming in. It's, everyone's excited. They all want to come see it. So we gangbusters, and I kept warning my wife because I'm in the music business and I also produce music. So I always go, hey, like that first record, you sell it to your family and friends and you think I'm just killing it. And then once you sold it to the last cousin, then the fans, you got to sell to fans.
Yeah.
And that's when the reality sometimes sets in. But you know what? It never happened with us. We were cruising. It's moving along, and COVID. We were open 9 months, had to close that door and do takeout. Fortunately, our governor let us do takeout. He let me deliver booze. So I became known as exactly Mark's like, where do I sign up? I became known as the mimosa fairy. So on Sundays, I would load my truck.
Oh no,
up.
they were calling you that for years, bro.
Yeah, well, maybe the second half of that, but the first half got added from COVID. And we'd put out posts. I put up posts on social media like the mimosa fairies coming, who's in? And they had a link online. They could buy their mimosa, and I had by law had to sell a food product with it. So I would we'd give them like a little bag of chips or some pretzels, hot dog. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
a boiled one, not a grilled one.
Yeah,
red dye, baby. And I would drive around on Sundays, and I put up a bottle of champagne on their porch and a little thing of orange juice, of course, because nobody really wants that much orange juice. And then I'd bang on the door. They put their ID to the glass, and I go, "Have fun at the next place, dude." And I did that for a few months. It was pretty crazy, and thank God we had really good people supporting us, or people that really cared about us. They'd order crap they didn't want or need, or they'd buy for other people,
right?
Which was really neat. We had people that I had Monkees fans that would call in and go, "I'm going to give you $100. Get whatever you want and give it to whoever you want." So we call up some clients or patrons and go, "Somebody bought you, a little cheese and a couple bottles of wine. Congratulations, I'm on my way." And I drop it on the porch.
Oh, that's really cool.
They tip us crazy, and that just kept our doors, kept us, off the landlord's radar, and kept us going. And in the meantime, we just hunkered down, brother. Everybody did it. Some people didn't make it out, and we were blessed. We made it out.
Good for you. Congrats, man. Wow.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
What a great story.
Too. When you go to the venue, when you go to the wind down, you pull into the parking lot, and there's a giant sign on the other side of the parking lot that just says comics.
Yeah. Yeah. That should be over our place, right?
Right?
Yeah, we're next to the comic book store.
But so when you walk in, we're like, we know where to go.
That's exactly right. We used to have, when Don and Courtney started with Craig Gass, that was the first comedy night we ever did. We had, and this is no lie, we had a rub and tug on the corner of our little center. We're in an L-shaped little shop, strip mall. We're in there with the IPA beer guys, the wine place, the comic book store, and the rub and tug. And
Robert Kraft loved going there.
I was humiliated. These cool comedians coming in. I'm like, and of course we don't have a green room, so we're all sitting outside. We're sitting on a bench outside, and I go, "Oh, and by the way, that's our rub and tug right over there." The lovely Chinese ladies will come out and hock a loogie at any given point while they're smoking and yelling on their phone between customers. And as I'm telling this,
as you're telling this, Craig Gass comes out of the.
Craig Gass gets this look on his face. He goes, "Oh my God!" And we all look around, and one of the ladies who'd been sitting out there hearing this whole conversation opens the door. This big, like LTD looking sedan pulls up. A guy in his boxer shorts, sandals, and a ball cap, because that's when you go to rub and tug, a ball cap is necessary, to do that thing. You got to do that thing, right? And he steps out of his car, steps in, she closes the door, and we all watch in amazement as they service their client. But he was in boxer shorts and sandals. That's all the guy was wearing.
That's a man who comes prepared.
Yeah, there's Courtney. I'm like, sorry, Courtney, you had to see that.
Yeah, come prepared and come often.
Just come. That'd be a great name for a rub and tug. Just come.
Exactly. They moved down the street now, and they have some stupid name like 18 doing. 18 doing, or you have to be 18 to do it or something. They got kicked out of the center and they just moved up the block. So that's perseverance, ladies. Perseverance.
It's good to know they made it through the pandemic too.
They had no trouble.
They were going door to door.
Yeah. Delivery, right?
Oh my god. Well, we definitely have to come. And then they open the the branding is so popular. They actually have a place in the airport as well.
That's
So when
right.
you
That's right.
fly through Nashville or you're coming into Nashville, you can stop at their store, which is right as you get through security.
Yeah, that's right. We have a
It's like
little
the
retail
best spot.
store. It's we didn't even know that was going to be our location, and they finally showed us the drawings, and we're like,
Wow.
wait, you're telling me that when you walk through TSA pre, it just dumps you into our store? So that was crazy. And
Wow.
we had Don Jameson did a signing. We'll have signings there, and we'll have our friends come out for a couple of hours. So Don, when he was leaving town, he just came. I think he just came just a few hours early before his flight, and then Amy had him out front and signing autographs. Bring CDs, DVDs, T-shirts, that metal show stuff, and people would walk through and go, and recognize him. It was awesome. It was so much fun. Joe
Wow.
Wooten did one of those, and
Yeah.
Guy Gilchrist, the illustrator for the Muppets and Nancy comic strips, he did one.
Wow.
And so we're waiting for Riccadonna to come back to town. It's his turn.
But we've got to do Drinks Jokes. We'll do it from
We'll do the
airport, too.
podcast
That's
from the
right.
airport. That'd be cool.
I would love that. Hey, I got Wi-Fi, bro. We could do it.
All right.
We could do this live. As long as Mark can get through TSA. As long as you can make it to the probing.
I invite pat downs.
You don't like pat downs?
No, I invite it. I'm like, hey, who's searching? Come on, let's get this going.
Mark's,
Big fella, get over here.
Mark's at the airport going, I thought the rub and tug was down the street.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Who do I tip? Who do I tip here?
So, well, I gotta ask because we talked about this because you grew up right out in Richmond,
Yeah,
right?
just
You were-
south of Richmond, like 20 miles south.
and
I was
so
in the country.
you were a country boy.
I was country.
So Wooten's from Virginia too. What's
Yeah.
what's with all these great music coming out of Virginia?
Man, that's just the tip of the iceberg. We had Carter Beauford from the Dave Matthews Band, the drummer. Carter's
Yeah.
he's from Charlottesville, but he was playing a lot in Richmond. That's how we got to discover him. You had Dane Bryant, who played with Olivia Newton-John, Keith Horn, who's played for everybody, and is back in the Richmond area now. James Genus, who was my I was his sidekick. I was almost saying he was mine. I was his sidekick in my short stint in music school. Who James has been the Saturday Night Live bass player for 15 years.
All right.
He's
I
the
know
cat
him.
with the short dreads. He's giant.
Yeah.
James is giant, and so you can't miss James. He's in the
goes-
middle.
He used to drink at the Underground Lounge
Oh,
where my
dude.
wife was the bartender.
He's the man. I love that. I love that
He'd come
human.
in like every night and come and hang out. And Angie's like, "How do I know him?" I'm like, "Saturday Night Live." She
That's
goes, "He's a
right.
comedian." I'm like, "No,
He's the bass
in the
player.
background going."
Yeah, he's the cat. You always see him, no matter what. You
Yeah.
can't miss him because James is like he's 6'3" or something.
Yeah.
He's always got a nice head of hair, unlike us, the rest of us guys. And he's beautiful, man. He's such a wonderful dude, and has introduced me to so many cats. And that's actually how I met Victor Wooten when I was 16. We both lived. If you worked in Virginia long enough, you played in theme parks. You had two rival theme parks.
Right.
So he was at Busch Gardens, I was at King's Dominion. So I met him when I was 16, when I was working at King's Dominion, and his crowd came up and they hung out with us. And so I met Victor then, who was just a complete freak on bass. Then he's 3 years older than me, so he was 19, and just I was seeing things I had never even thought was possible.
When you hear Bella Fleck, when
Oh,
you hear him play,
Yeah,
you just go like, "That's not a bass guitar. He's playing regular guitar, right? They just turned it
Exactly.
down." I'm like,
exactly. And when that stuff first came out, it was mind-boggling. And then to see a banjo player, you see Victor, you see Victor's brother playing this thing called the drumitar, which is an electronic drum he plays with his fingers. He used to have thimbles sewn into a black glove, and he'd touch little sensors, and he'd rake his fingers on the sensors, or he'd tap them like
Wow.
a guitar. And then you had Howard Levy, who'd play piano and he'd play harp, but not the harp like those guys that come into Blues Club with the harp bandoleros. You just hate those guys.
Mhm.
They had the harp
play
pelican
one
case. Yeah, I hate those guys. There's no business being alive, as far as I'm concerned. I love harp, but those guys, they come in, they show up at your gig, and they kidnap your gig, and they play all night long, and they have 20 harps. Anyway, don't
It's
get me
the
started.
same note over and over.
Yeah, I obviously have an issue here that I'm gonna have to work out.
Can I tell you? I have a harp story.
Oh my God, you're gonna fire me up, dude.
My wife's grandmother got her a harp years ago, and so we went to a music store. I want to take some piano lessons, and the music store, it's right down the street from our house, and it says outside, we teach all instruments. So I walk in, and the guy goes, "Hi, how can I help you guys?" I go, "I want to take some piano lessons." He goes, "Okay, fill out this form." And turns to my wife, and he goes, "What do you want to do?" She goes, I want to learn the harp." And the guy goes, "The harp?" She goes, "Yeah." He goes, "We don't teach the harp." And she goes, "It says you
instruments." Yeah.
She goes, "It says you teach all instruments." He goes, "Not the harp."
Exactly. That ain't no instrument, bro. Well, this guy from the Flecktones, if go on YouTube today, give yourself 30 seconds to look up Howard Levy, Levy, and he does this thing. They always say he's got two tongues, which, hello, ladies, but he'll play little Bach fugues, which are two parts. Like one part's like a do 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 da da da, and he can play the melody and the harmony and the accompaniment part at the same time. That's
really.
Isn't that physically incapable?
Yeah.
And he does it with just like a lot of guys have these little buttons that they'll push for half steps, and he'll just take a regular harp and do that, and it's freakishly amazing. So those four cats, the Bela Fleck and Flecktones, when they first came on the scene, it was shit you'd never seen before, and
wow,
they got the accolades and the Grammys they deserve. Every bit of that stuff. And actually, they're going to go back out here. They were kind of disbanded, spread to the winds for a while. Now they're coming back out after this Australian tour.
Yeah,
definitely.
It looks like they're having a blast. I'm following it on social media.
You see Joseph last night. He's in Sydney. He's sitting in with a band. He's just there's like a duo, like a keyboard or trio. Sorry, keyboard player, drummer, and a singer, and they're playing the tracks. And they let Joe sit in, and it's just. Joe I'm sure that they were sitting there going, this clown's he's gonna get up and sit in and watch this. And then of course Joseph did what he always does and swept the stage with everybody.
So you're playing at the thing. Who was the first big musician that gave you a break to get in?
100% Donna Summer.
Interesting.
I played with a ton of people before then in Los Angeles, but there were one-offs, and I played with some of my personal heroes. I got to meet and hang out with I think Mark, I probably had too many glasses of wine, cried tears and go, it didn't mean anything. I got to hang out with people that I respected. I put the records on, put the needle down, and they're now in the car with me, or I'm hanging backstage with them. But it never. Beyond that, nothing ever happened. And so at some point when I left Los Angeles, I was like, surely there's got to be something that's going to keep momentum going, or am I wasting my time at this music thing? So I got to Nashville, and as soon as I got to Nashville, everything opened up. I mean, literally, I got there on a Friday night and went and saw Joseph. Joseph was wrapping up a set. I drove from Dallas, I guess was that stop. And we caught Joseph playing a set. And by Sunday afternoon, I had auditioned for and gotten like a road gig with this cat from a band called Little Texas, which was a 90s era country band. And the singer the keyboard player had broken off and was doing his own thing. And so, I mean, from Friday night to Sunday afternoon, I'd already gotten a gig, getting a paycheck to play music after being in LA for 8 years and just busting the pavement. Paying at the end, I was paying to play, paying money to club owners. We headline the Roxy once a month, but we're paying to play the Roxy once a month. Right. Playing at the Whiskey, we're paying to play at the Whiskey. The Troubadour, here's my money, Mr. Troubadour. Thank you very much.
Wow.
It was so to go from that to somebody, is wanting you to play with them. They're going to pay you. It was incredible. So that was in late March, right? I found my tour itinerary. By May, I was in Brazil on a 12-city tour or 12-day tour. I think it was like 8 cities. And I was, no one's more amazed than me that happened. And that was Donna Summer. Donna took me with her.
When was this? What year was this?
That was 95.
Wow.
That was 95. We're coming up on a big, big 30-year moment there when that happened. And I'm talking to my wife, Amy, about, let's go. We got to go to Brazil for the 30th anniversary of that tour
Yeah.
and just hit those cities, hit those towns and just
Yeah.
visit and just reflect on all of it. But that was a 16-year run with her. That was, she was the first one, dude. She was the very first one.
So I gotta ask, because you worked with Winona Judd.
Oh yeah, that's my girl.
Were you working with her when Greg Rogel was the opening act?
I don't remember her ever having a comedian, so it must not have been me. It definitely was not me,
Why?
because I don't remember a
Well, it would be
comedian.
very quick because he only worked one night.
Oh, I think I
Richie,
missed
do you
that one.
remember he came
No.
on and told that
What did he
story?
do? Was he telling
No.
fat jokes?
No, they had him. Well, he was with the Judds, so it might
Okay,
have been
yeah, that's
a
before
different-
me, actually.
He was. They saw him do the Tonight Show, and they hired him on the spot. And he goes, "Well, I'm going to send you my stuff because you should see what I do." Because he's a pretty dark comic.
Yeah.
And they were like, "No, we saw your set. We love you. You're going to be perfect." He goes, "I typed it up. I sent it to him. I did whatever." He goes, "I went out. I went to open the show. I got about 5 minutes in. They started lighting me. I wrapped up. And as I walked by the dressing room, they were praying for me."
That's awesome. They got him in the prayer circle, save his ass, save his soul. Wow, I love that story.
I forgot that story.
That's a great story.
I always, whenever somebody says, because a lot of comics are like notoriously say they hate opening for bands because the audience is there for the band.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're like a speed bump, like you're in the way of them seeing what they want to see.
That's an interesting way of putting it.
To me, I feel like it's a different muscle than like a comedy club.
Yeah.
You're not going to kill like you do at a comedy club, or you're not going to you're more of like the hype man.
Yeah.
And so I take that approach, and I understand that they're not going to, go crazy. It's like playing an old age home or something. Like, you're not going to get the response you're used to. You just got to get the response that you can get in that moment. But then after you do your set, you get to watch musicians play.
Yeah. You're paid, and you get to hang out and go to catering and start pilfering those bottles of wine that are around in the back. Yeah. And you got to remember the cool thing, if you've won that crowd, think about the accomplishment, because those people didn't pay for comedy. They paid for a musical experience. So if you've had a good set, you won them. You earned that crowd. And that says a lot.
Yeah, they're not there for you. They're not there for you.
And the inverse is even sadly more true. They don't want you up there.
Yeah.
Oh, it sucks. It's a beating.
But they don't, not even that they're not there for you. They're not even there for your art.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
It's like
that's right. They came from music.
Yeah. But as a comic, I love hanging out with musicians more than anything, because I'm saying this in general terms. Most of the time, musicians, you guys are doing very serious work when you're doing your art. So when you're not on the clock, you're having fun and laughing, where I feel like a lot of comics are having fun and joking around when they're on the clock. So when they're off the clock, they take themselves very seriously.
Yeah, they're miserable bastards.
And so I enjoy musicians so much more when I get to be around them.
It's true. No comic likes Mark, because he's always like, "Hey guys," and the comic's
That's not true. That can't be true.
I honest to God, there was a long period of time where I was like, I don't think I should be doing comedy, because I don't get along with any of these guys.
No, I'm only. Everybody loves you. Are you kidding?
I'm like Ted Lasso in season 1. I'm walking in the green room. How's everybody doing? They're like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Well, musicians on gigs, when they're not playing, when they're not up doing their thing, they're rarely, I'm really stereotyping, rarely listening to music. Rarely actually engaged in the thing that they're there to do. And
I can see that.
You get a break from it during the day, and then even after the show, the last thing you want to do is like put on phones, or somebody go, "Hey, listen to this track I got." And you're like, "Oh, really? I don't want to do that."
That's
right
like
now.
a comic in a green room going, "Hey, dude, I got this new bit. What do you think?" And you're like, "Just leave me alone.
Yeah.
Like, can I have 5 minutes without stand up?"
Well, it's with it's funny. Yeah. Now I work with the everyone will remain nameless on this because I still work with these folks. But I work with the cat when we do before the show. Sometimes in the backstage green room area there'll be a piano or a guitar. The promoter or the venue will have something laying around. A musician will go in and you just can't help it. Sometimes you just pick it up and strum on it or whatever. We work for this. We work for a guy, not an artist, but somebody we answer to. And oh my God, he shuts us down so fast. He's like, I want to do noise, and
Don't touch it.
it's hard. It's like a little kid telling a little kid not to touch a toy. They're going to reach over there and strum or something.
Yeah.
But it was with Winona that I worked with Eddie, and Eddie's last name eludes me. Everyone's name eludes me these days. I'm so freaking old. But Eddie was the guitar player with Winona at the time. And Eddie would always we'd be in the dressing room, just us. He'd have a little Bluetooth speaker, and every night was a different genre, artist, material that he'd start playing it on his phone. He didn't ask anybody. He just did it. And I think the first time I ever heard it, I was like, man, really? And then it got me in the mood to go out and play. And one night it's Tower of Power, one night it's Soul, one night it's Zydeco. And he would do that, and we'd all kind of get this groove going backstage, and then we would literally walk right on stage, and that groove sat with us. And I was like,
That's awesome.
That's cool.
That was a cool
Setting
thing.
a tone.
It set the tone to step out, because so often, literally what happens is the guy comes out and goes, you get 10, 5 places, and you walk out. And then all of a sudden, oh yeah, I'm a musician, here we go. And that was very cool. That set the tone.
That's awesome.
Went out on stage. So Eddie,
Tommy Davidson was the first time I realized that the green room could be somewhere where he would play music in the green room, and he had and it was different each night, but he would play music to get in the mood and to get rid of his baggage for the day.
Yeah.
So then he could just be in the moment of the club, being in the club or whatever. I think it does make a little bit of a difference, because I remember having really great shows, and his audience is not necessarily the that would love me. You know what I mean? So
Who doesn't love you, Mark? Come on.
I got in a mood, and I got in the zone, and when I felt like I went out, I was like, all right, here we go.
Hey, well, music does that anyway. Music kind of takes you out of your head. And that's one of the beauties of it. A comedian does the same thing, but music is that art. It takes you out of your headspace. And if you can roll right on the stage from that vibe, you take that vibe with you. Tommy Davis was the first comedian that I ever saw in person, live and in person. And it was at King's Dominion, at that theme park. And he was working some show. It was a jazz festival or something that came through the show. Maybe I was 16, 17.
Yeah.
And that's the first comedian I ever saw. He was hosting the show, and he was great. Cool. He was so cool.
He's a little underrated. I mean, he has a great career, but I think he's underrated because some people see him as because he could do the Def Jam rooms.
Yeah.
He could work those rooms, but he also, he's really in the jazz, and he can talk to a different generation, and he does great depending what he's doing.
Yeah, he transcends.
Yeah.
Yeah. He definitely
So Winona had to be a lot of fun touring with her.
She was a lot of fun.
She seems like you go to town, you have fun, it's not just like, all right, go to the venue, do your gig.
She's
but
like
now
a
you
lot
also
of... go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, you also worked with Rick Springfield.
Yeah, Rick's awesome.
I saw him on Broadway.
Did you really?
He did Smokey Joe's Cafe, and he was awesome.
Please tell me he took his shirt off while he did it.
I probably did. Yeah, he's like the Matthew McConaughey of rock and roll.
It's ridiculously stupid how good looking he is. Pisses me off, man.
He was I did the warm up for the Dr. Oz show, and he came on to talk about his sex addiction. And I'm like, dude, we all have a sex addiction. You're the only one who can, when you look like that, you actually fulfill it. Yes.
Yeah. You guys need to flash You need to cut in a flash to go to Google and go Rick Springfield shirtless in the last 2 weeks, and he's 72.
Is he really? Wow. And
he takes that shirt off, and you're like, no way.
Right, well, Tony, we got to put that in.
Tony, make this happen, bro. It makes me so mad. But the cat, he takes care of himself, and he used to, when we traveled together, old dogs on the road. I don't mean old like age. I mean people who've done this forever. Old comedians who've been doing it forever. Musicians travel. They always travel light. That's how I know I'm still too young, because I take too much shit. But Rick would just travel with a little carry-on bag, this little tiny carry-on bag, because all he wears is jeans and T-shirts most of the time, or at least when I was with him. So he could put a shit ton of T-shirts in that bag, and undies, and socks, and 2 pair of jeans. He's 2 pairs of jeans. He's done. But on the outside of that thing, he would strap on one of those ab rollers, and that thing would be always falling off and rolling like down a hill or into traffic at the airport. And we're always chasing the ab roller around because we gotta have that ab roller. It's gonna save the show. Save the show, bro.
That's how he kept you guys in shape.
That's right. He was it's a ridiculously good looking guy, and just sweet cat. I love that dude.
That's cool.
Love seeing him play still, because he still got it. He still gets out there and he gives it. He bleeds. How many people do you know go out there and bleed on stage? That guy gets cut and beat up. I watched him, swing guitars in there, and they come down and crash on him. And I watched him fall off stage a few times and get huge gashes because he gets into the audience. He crawls out on tables. He just gives it. I'm not going to do that. I'll break a hip. I'll be dead in a week. But that guy, he goes out there and he bleeds for his crowd. And I would have thought that was ridiculous until I saw it myself. Now I was like, that's a dude who gives. He leaves nothing on stage. You got 100% Rick.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's a beautiful dude.
When he walks off, he says, "I've done everything for you."
Yeah. He quite literally. You should see it when he goes out in the audience, and he steps out on tables and shit. Like he'll walk out and the table's doing this, and we're like, "Oh, gig's over, broken hip, we're all going home. Here we go." And these chicks are grabbing him and holding his legs, holding his butt. They're like,
oh, they love that.
They're so happy. They're so happy. Just to get their hands all over the guy. And he, got to give it to him. Like Winona's not dancing on tables. Let's put it that way. It's not happening. But Rick is out there. He's on the tables.
Riccadonna is going to add that to his act.
Yeah.
Why is this comedian on my table?
Why am I holding his ass in the air?
I'm stepping on there like, chicken parm.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
It's going to be your new thing.
But if you're not going to eat it because I stepped on it, just save it. I'll eat it after the show.
Exactly.
How did you come into playing bass? I don't know many musicians that go.
You could say it. Say it. They didn't want to play bass, and they ended up on it.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. No one ever went, "I'm going to pick the bass up first."
No, I'm an enigma in that sense. I wanted to be Gene Simmons. I thought he was so cool.
Ah, okay.
And Gene played bass. Yeah. And I was a total geek nerd. I played cello in orchestra when I started in 6th grade. And I read music, and I played cello in the little youth orchestras and stuff like that, and did the school thing. So going to bass was kind of in my mind, it was like a lateral move. This would be easier. It's 4 strings, just like a cello. Mm-hmm. It's different notes. The strings are slightly different, but still, it's all in the ballpark, And I could read, so I was able to get some bass books, and then immediately learn, bass, kiss bass lines right out the gate. That's all I wanted to do, man. So 14. That's right. Yeah, minus the boots, maybe the boots. But yeah, I wanted to be Gene Simmons. That was my path, and that's why I was so excited to play bass.
Have you ever met him?
The coolest. No, and I hate that. I want to meet the guy
because I have.
Yeah, have you?
Yeah.
What's he like to you? Like, what was your experience with him?
I'll tell you exactly. He was so. It was. We were at Caroline's, the club in the city, and he was in the audience with a woman, and they told us not to acknowledge him, and
always works.
So he didn't.
I did my time, and I walked by the table, And when I walked by his table, he waved me over. And he said, "You're a very funny man." And I said, "Thank you very much." And we talked for a second. And then I went to walk away. And I turned back and I turned to the woman. I said, "Hi, I'm Richie." And she said, "Hi, I'm who?" And I go, "I just want to say hi to you too, because I've hung around famous people before and no one ever notices the other person." And she goes, "I know, right?" And Gene goes, "That's enough."
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And true, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Gene, I'm
Okay.
out. That's
Wow.
enough.
Well, we have friends that work with Gene and Ace, Philip Schaus and Jeremy Asbrock and Ryan Cook.
We had Jeremy
are in the band.
on
Yeah,
during the pandemic.
they got they're so cool.
All
And
right.
what a gig. Those guys, and they're huge Kiss fans. They're like the ultimate Kiss fans, and they literally get to go out and play Kiss music with their idols. So that's
Wow.
a gig. That's a gig.
That's like that movie Rockstar.
Totally is. Yeah.
Like
totally
all
is.
of a
Yeah.
sudden, wait, I'm playing with the band?
Yeah.
It's like Arnell from Journey, like
Yeah.
a tribute band to actually being in the band.
Yeah, that's quite a story.
Gene's always you ever notice that everybody's experience with Gene is always pretty iconic? Like that story you just told. There's never like I just met him and it was no big deal.
Yeah, no, you're right. Everybody has a great story about Gene Simmons. It's true.
Everybody that meets him has got a story. And Craig Gass obviously has many interactions with them that are great. But everyone says that. Everyone says when I met Gene, this happened or something. It's always a riot.
Yeah.
We interviewed Paul Stanley on the radio show I do on Wednesdays. We interviewed him, and his interview was so good because he would take something and then just turn it into something really amazing. Like we would throw him something kind of garbage, and then he would spin it into something really awesome. And we thought we had like the greatest interview ever because of all these great quotes that he had right in the moment and whatever. And then we just read it. He was just in Rolling Stones and he used all those quotes. We're like, that dude has like a list that he's like, all right, I want to nail it.
Yeah, that's every artist I've ever worked for. Every single artist I ever worked for has a list that they choose from of all the stuff that they say when they do interviews or anything. And they're wonderful at weaving it right in so it doesn't seem like it's rehearsed.
We thought it was so organic, like, oh my God, he just turned that thing into this amazing moment.
Hey, and that's the beauty of Paul Stanley. He made you feel that way, right?
Yeah, we really thought we had the greatest ever interview with him. And then like a month later, Steve Trevelise, the guy whose radio show it is, sends me, check out this article. And I was like, son of a bitch. Had nothing to do with us.
That's exactly right. No, it's they all do it. They all, because they do so many interviews, so much stuff. Mickey's got these stories he likes to tell, and he'll tell them like it's the first time he's ever told them. And they're all great. They're great. They're they're rock and roll history. You talk about Hendrix. We're talking about bands or comedians who open for bands.
Yeah, Hendrix opened for the Monkees.
Yeah, and booed off stage.
Yeah.
Booed off stage by these little kids who, we want Mickey, we want Davey, and Mickey's got all these great stories like that. But you realize that's, you'll be hearing these stories. You're like, I'm hearing this for the first time for this rock and roll legend, and really, that's just like his stories he'll tell. Winona used to always, her thing was like, you got to go out on the limb to get to the fruit. She had like a little list of like parables that she would do. And every night we go, we always go, here it comes. You got to reach out there to get the good stuff, whatever. But that's just part of entertainment. You can't be off the cuff. If you're off the cuff, you stand to crash and burn.
Yeah. We should bring Tony on if we're going to start talking Mickey.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Well, I thought
where's Tony at? Tony, what do you got to ask? You got questions? What's up?
Well, I'm sure I am going to geek out on Monkees here. I'm sure you're tired of. I know even the Monkees themselves were tired of Mickey's comparison to Leonard Nimoy turning into a Vulcan. That was always his famous line, right? I don't know if you can even comment on that. I don't know. I don't want to get you in trouble.
My NDA is ironclad, bro. Ironclad. Now, what you guys got to come out? Seriously, we're going out and doing shows now and then. Go out and see this guy. He's iconic, and while we're still doing work out there and doing these tunes. Get out there, Tony. Make some plans. Book that trip.
I saw you guys just a few weeks before the quarantine hit. You guys played here on Long Island.
Wow.
And I actually got backstage. I spent a little time with Mickey. Really nice guy.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, that was a big thrill.
He's the best.
Wow, really?
I love Mickey.
Oh yeah, really nice guy.
You saw Nesmith then.
No, this was a Mickey solo show.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I did. I saw the Nesmith show as well, but yeah, this was a solo show where I got to meet him. But and I'm actually amazed because I mean he's in his late 70s. You guys are out there a lot.
Yes, we are.
And the show's long.
Yeah, it's a 2-hour show.
I was like, I can't believe he's still playing. Like I'm tired and I'm 40.
we built in some breaks with video and built like little moments where he can step off stage, sit down, get a glass of water, get back up there, or in this last show we were doing the Headquarters record,
right?
And there's that's got all the guys on it. So Mickey didn't want to really do everybody. He didn't want to do Davey's songs and didn't want to do Nez's songs. So we have 2 other guys in the band that sang those parts, and that became their song. And it gives Mickey, him 3 minutes, 4 minutes just to kind of catch his breath, sit down for a moment, relax a little bit.
Yeah,
he's 78. He's killing it.
You're old when you go to a McCartney concert and you're sitting there going, doesn't he have to pee? That's all I thought of. How does he stay up there? The man's 80.
Maybe he did.
I even thought of that. I'm like, he gotta be wearing a diaper, man.
He's got, yeah. Just look really carefully for the stain. Maybe he did.
Well, I actually have a joke about act where I go, when the Beatles were in their heyday in the early mid 60s, young girls, teenage girls would be so excited to see them that they would pee in the seats. They would literally lose control and pee.
Oh my God.
I go, and now 50 years later, old men are doing the same thing.
Yeah, we're all doing it. Just always look carefully. Zoom in so you can see the catheter tube coming out of their pants leg. To a special, container on the stage.
Yeah, they used to put like cucumbers down there. Now they got catheters.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, look, he's getting hard throughout the concert. Like, that's not an erection.
Well, he's really hung. Nah.
Yeah.
They're grabbing Springfield's ass and then they feel a bag. Like, what the fuck?
What the fucking burst? Hey, we're getting old, man. We got to do shit up there. We got to make it. We got to get to the end somehow, right?
Well, dude, when I was 6 years old, my dad came home. Somebody at his job gave him 2 albums, brand new. They weren't even open. One was the Monkees' first album. The other was Meet the Beatles.
Oh, nice.
And that changed my life. That's when I was 6. And you put those albums on. You couldn't ask for 2 greater albums,
When you were 6?
It was like it was old. They were older albums, but they.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
I was thinking there were, music wasn't even around yet when you were 6. That's what I was thinking.
Mark, this is why we don't put Tony on.
The band.
Sorry.
He's like, oh, again?
Damn it.
Yeah.
Cool. Tony, make it out to a show. Come and see Mickey again. Come check out this new stuff when you can. We'll be back on the East Coast.
Absolutely.
We're going out west now. But
Nice.
Mickey's solo shows will be probably, I imagine, in the late fall. We're always on the East Coast.
Yeah.
We'll be nearby.
And that's what I love about Mickey's shows. Even when all the guys were still around, they do all the songs that they have to do. Everybody wants to see the hits, but they've always they sneak in a lot of album cuts. Like you said, even doing the Headquarters album. The casual fan doesn't even know what we're talking about, but they sneak a lot of those rare album cuts in, which for me that's a big deal.
Yeah.
The thing about Mickey for me is I really believe he's one of the most underrated singers.
Agreed.
Oh yeah.
What a
Absolutely.
voice. People never really acknowledged what an amazing voice he had.
And to hear his last few solo albums, his solo work lately, the past 10 or 15 years, he's put out some really, really good stuff.
Oh yeah. He did a solo record, King for a Day.
Yep.
Yeah, he's just doing all Carole King covers.
Right.
Wow.
It's phenomenal.
And the one after that,
Great timing.
Remember, I think,
Yep.
maybe?
Yep.
Where he does Harry Nilsson and a
That's
few other
right.
tunes.
That's right.
Yeah.
No, he's a great singer, and it's really weird when you realize that he's not being recognized like he should. It seems like something's off.
Yeah.
It's weird.
I wasn't a big Monkees fan. Yeah, I mean, I grew up at a time when they didn't really play them, whatever. They were too old to be played like as that it's late, and they weren't old enough that it was
Right.
like oldie. So
Yeah.
like as a kid, like Richie's saying at 6 years old, he got to listen to it. Like I didn't hear the Monkees till later, and I gotta say, man, going to that concert, you just don't know the casual listener who knows oldies and stuff and classic rock. I didn't know how many hits they had.
Yeah.
Like it was like every time you guys started playing, I'm like, oh my god, yeah, this
That's
is
how
amazing.
that's how it was with those guys for me. Because I'm like you, Mark. I came into them late. Like I just hearing
Yeah.
them on the radio. I've really kind of missed the shows, and we're both 50. Me and the Monkees were born in the same week. Believe it or not, I had my 50th birthday party at our 50th anniversary show at the Palladium in Hollywood. During the intermission, we had cake, and I had, it was great. It was really cool.
Wow.
So I missed that first run. I had to wait till it's back on, in I'm sorry, the words escape me when the shows come back on later.
What, MTV?
Oh, just MTV, but just they run in reruns.
Oh,
yeah.
reruns.
There's another word I'm looking for, but yeah,
Syndication?
yes, syndication. Thank you. That's when I caught it, and then even then, I didn't catch that much of it. I was kind of on to something else. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I missed that age when I would have caught on to it and latched on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So I kind of missed it.
yeah, I mean, they were. I'm going to be 60, so I was born in '63. So I vaguely remember them on TV when they were.
wow.
But by the time I was 8 or 9 years old, they were rerunning them every day.
Yeah.
So I saw
And that's
all of
the age. That's what you
Yeah,
want to be.
and so the influence of them to me was amazing. And recently, you watch shows that you watch when you were a kid. You see them on like Nick at Night or whatever, and you go, "My God, how did I sit through this? Like, how did I think Happy Days was Shakespeare?" But I was recently the Monkees were on, and I was watching, and I'm like, this is damn funny, man. They were really, really funny on top of everything else. And they worked really well together.
Yeah.
They did. That was a really good chemistry.
Yeah.
That was a really good chemistry. Here's another YouTube hole for you. And Tony, you'll if you've not done this, you'll love this. Go find the original screen tests for the Monkees.
Oh, yeah, I've seen them.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It's
That's
you see
fantastic.
the
Oh,
guys,
really?
they're running scenes with different actors and trying Mickey with this guy and
Yeah.
Mike with that guy, and it's weird. You're like that. These cats could have actually had the gig. These other dudes.
You know
It
what?
could have been a whole other thing.
You know what else is kind of cool to me, anyway, because I'm a nerd. But the first time the Beatles were on the Ed Sullivan Show, so was Davy Jones.
Yes, he was.
He was in
Oliver.
Oliver.
Yeah.
And he did. Yeah. So if you go back
didn't
and
know
watch the full Ed Sullivan Show, Davy Jones is there performing.
Yeah.
That's some crazy
Wow.
synchronicity right there.
Yeah.
And Stephen
Really
Stills tried out for the Monkees.
He did.
Yeah.
He recommended
Torque.
Peter Tork. Yeah.
Yeah, they were roommates.
He wasn't.
Yeah.
They thought he was ugly.
Torque-
They didn't like Steven Stills. Yeah, you're too
his
ugly.
teeth or something too.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
someone with his
He had
teeth.
bad teeth or something like that.
Poor
And
Steven
you-
Stills. He's like I laugh about Steven Stills because apparently he's like a genius beyond genius. And he even like he was so mad that it was Crosby, Stills, Nash. Like it should have been. And I read Nash's book, and he's talking. He goes, "I'm sitting there going, there's no way this shouldn't be Stills, Crosby, Nash."
Right.
And he goes, but somehow it became Crosby, Stills, Nash. And David Crosby's like, "Yeah, I'm good with it. I'm good with it."
Yeah.
My
And
brother and I had a character we used to do in high school that was the classic rock guy. And he would go, I was going to go see Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. Sans Young. And whatever. And he just always then he would go, I was going to go see Crosby, Stills and Nash. Neil Young was playing with him. Like he never put the right title with the right band.
Yeah.
But yeah, Steven Stills recommended Peter
Yeah.
Tork.
That's right. And if you watch that YouTube screen test of Peter, he's so nervous. They're obviously going to go out there doing an audition, and they want to give it, and they knew what it was. They didn't know it was the Monkees. They just knew it was a show, and it had to be zany, teenager-y, musicians. So, but he's so nervous. It makes me nervous to watch that clip of him when he comes bursting through the door with his guitar. And it's just interesting. It's really cool to watch, like knowing them now and knowing the history that happened after, to see that moment it's interesting.
Is that
Nez
important?
Is a little persnickety too.
Is
Nez
that
is
important?
like a little annoyed.
Sorry. Is that important to you as being a member of the band to know the history, or did you just start watching it because you became a fan of the music?
I mean, I was always a fan of the music. Whatever was on the radio, I loved it because those songs are great. They're great songs.
Yeah.
It wasn't the embarrassing thing for me, which is like I'm having this moment all the time when I do podcasts for Monkees fans. They always go, "What's your favorite episode?" And I go, I really haven't seen all the episodes. Matter of fact, I'm hard pressed to remember any one from beginning to end. I've seen pieces of them.
Right.
And
You should just say from now on, my favorite one's whatever the last one was that I watched.
yeah, exactly. I guess I should just pick one. Number 17 was amazing. It was really incredible.
No, then they'll hit you with the details.
Yeah, they know everything. They literally.
You got to make one up.
Everything.
The one that McCartney was on was the best. Just make it up.
You know when Bowie did that one? That was so. Bowie was the bomb. Yeah, it's
my friend Dana, who you met at the after party.
That's right.
If she was here, she would probably try to grill you on what color sweater was.
All right, so my public service announcement to all fans of all music, anywhere, is never assume that people who weren't directly involved in the making of that piece of work, whether it's a TV show, a comedy special, a song in the studio, don't assume that they know anything beyond what they're doing on a gig.
It's a gig. It's a gig.
So I'd showed up and they said, learn these songs, that, and that's it. And then you know what you do? You learn those songs because that's what you do. You're told that you're going to do those songs. And every now and then they'll add a song or something like that. You add that song. And so many fans go, why aren't you playing this song? And I go, because they don't want to do it. Why? I don't know. I just decided not to do that song. And don't you know how it goes? Isn't it beautiful? I go, I got to confess, I haven't heard that one. I'll go listen, but I haven't heard it.
Yeah.
So never assume, and I do the same thing. I go up, it's like that whole McCartney Saturday Night Live skit,
with Chris Farley.
You were, Farley. I have done that. We've all done it.
We've all done it.
I did it. I have done it. I did it to De Niro. I did it to one of my guitar heroes, Alan Holdsworth. Remember that time in Metal Fatigue where you hit that chord and it just rang out, and he's looking at me like, you moron. Never assume that they know or care. Just go up and be, say what you're going to say and all, but they grill me. The fans will grill you, and that's harmless. It's nobody's hurting my feelings, but I always feel like I'm letting the air out of their balloon when I go, I didn't see that, or I don't know that line, or I feel terrible
because they think they're so fanatical about the band that how can you not be? How can you be around that? You get to be around this every day. That's their thinking, and you're not as fanatical as I am. What the hell's wrong with you?
That's exactly right. And I've done this, dude. I've done it too. I've gone up and that part of the song when you play that thing, I just love that. And they're like, that wasn't me, bro. That was somebody else. Mm-hmm. I have no idea what you're talking about. Oh, okay. And that creates a new the next
when you hit
moment.
that one chord and it really represents the feeling that's going through. Oh, dude, that was an accident.
Yeah. Yeah, like I've always wanted, like my man crush drummer is this cat Josh Freese, and you might have heard of him recently because he's now going to do the Foo Fighters stuff.
Yep. Oh, okay.
And I knew the name. That's everybody that knows me so annoyed with me talking about Josh Freese. They can't stand it. Like I should have a poster behind me of Josh and me like pasted on top because I love his musicianship and he seems funny. Like he seems like that guy. You're like you go, oh, me and that guy, we're gonna get together, great. Obviously I'm gonna annoy the piss out of this guy. But I like my moment of self-discovery with 9 Inch Nails and Josh was 2008 Halloween night at Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, Tennessee. that opening song, 1 Million, when Josh starts 4 on the floor on the snare, and then Robin Fink comes in on the guitar part, and he's wearing a Halloween mask. Like, I would literally do that to Josh Freese, and he'd go, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And it would just, like, crush me, like, because that moment for me made me go back and buy Nine Inch Nails records and be a Trent Reznor fan, and I want to know what's going on in the band, and I'm trying to get to know them, and that was the moment. So for him to, like, I know he would just go, I don't know if I remember that night or not. They all kind of blend together. I'd be like, don't say that. So anyway, we've all done that.
I'll just give you this because I know we got to wrap soon because we have a thing we have to record after. But my Monkees moment that I wanted to share with you because I think it's hysterical is one time I was at a club in Greenwich Village, and there was a guy up front, long dreadlocks, very scary, leather jacket, making this face in the front row the whole show. Sitting next to this really hot girl, and he's just the whole. Everybody's getting off stage and going, "What's with this guy? This guy's like totally freaking out the comics, you know, like we don't know if he's going to get up and stab us or, you know, what's going on." And so I can't not talk to him now because everybody's backstage talking about it. So I started talking to him. I'm like, dude, you're a scary guy. Like, did you know you were coming to a comedy show? This isn't like a Fight Club. Like, we're not going to MMA fight or do any of that kind of stuff. Like, we're just telling jokes. And he's sitting there and he's looking at me and I'm like, I'm serious. Like, any moment you're going to pop up and like kick my ass. And his phone goes off. And his phone is, here I'm sleeping in. Oh, and I went, all of a sudden, I'm not afraid of you.
That took the fear element right out. That's
he
awesome.
Started laughing, and his girl was hitting him, and he was like cool the rest of the night.
You broke the barrier.
That's
you
funny.
did
The
it.
Monkees broke
You
the barrier.
reached him, man. You reached him.
I thought the guy was going to kill me until the Monkees played.
That's the magic of the Monkees. You are welcome. You are welcome, sir.
I saw Davy Jones fall off a stage once.
Really?
Yeah, and I know it's awful, but I must have laughed for 3 hours. I couldn't stop laughing. He fell right off.
Because rather than most mortal men, he fell even longer.
Exactly.
Tiny, you know.
Now, did you
Fell
work?
for like 5 minutes?
Did you work with any of those? How long have you been doing
No,
the
you
Monkees?
know what? The
just
funny
just
thing
Mickey?
Was, well, not funny thing, but just how it worked out was at the time I was working with Donna Summer and Winona. Because you know when you work with people like that, you don't go out. It's not like a year-long thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're not on salary. It's gig to gig.
Mm-hmm.
So Donna wouldn't work for a few months, and then Winona would have dates to go out for dates with Winona. Then Mickey would have some dates to go with Mickey. And at that time, Davey reconstituted the Monkees with him and Mickey and Peter, and he wanted his own band to be in it. And so he said, "It's my band, or else I'm not doing it." So I never met Davey. I met all the other guys. I've worked with Peter and Michael and Mickey, but I never got to meet Davey. But you know, I worked with so many people who knew him for 20 years that I've heard every Davy Jones story. It actually feels like I know him.
Right.
That makes sense. You have friends of friends who've passed or you never met, but you feel like you know exactly who they are because your pals have shared so much of them.
Right. Right. That's a cool way of talking about somebody who's passed. Because you say, they live on in your memory, but you never met them, but you have a memory of them from their memories.
I feel like I know him.
Yeah.
And it's funny because some of the guys, you always imitate the way people talk, and they always do Davies. Davies, obviously he's British, but he's a little guy, so he always has this thing in his throat. He talk like They would always do his voice, and I feel like I remember stories they told. Like I feel like Davey told them to me.
Right.
That's weird, but I've heard him so many times.
No, I hear you. I saw a thing on YouTube a few weeks ago, an interview with Mike and Mickey, and Mike was talking about how he and Peter didn't get along.
Yeah.
And I would have thought that they would have because they were the two musicians who were battling the studio. But Mike said, no, we didn't get along. But then he started crying when he was talking about it.
Yep.
You know what? That's because they're old bastards. And when you get older and move, hey, you know what I mean? When you're young and somebody says, fuck that guy, I didn't care, I didn't like him, blah. Then you get older and wiser, and you have your families, and they have families, and you have this shared history. I watched Nez get real emotional before, when you never thought he would. And Mickey is that guy. He's such a sweetheart. I've seen him cry over the Constitution, and that's not a joke. That's not exaggeration. I've heard him cry over talking about the founding fathers. He gets so emotional, and he just feels that he's bleeding red, white, and blue out of and he'll talk about it, he'll start weeping. But
wow,
they are old brothers, and they shared this history together, and they now feel it and see it more than ever. And then when Davey died, that really set the tone for the other three. Like, we're mortal. This isn't going to go on forever. We're carrying this forward, but we're going to have to do it without our brother. And then we lost Peter, and now it's getting even more so. And that last run where we went out with Nez for 2.5 months, right before he passed, he made it all the way to the Greek Theater.
Right.
It became more and more evident that between those guys, like, I never saw Mickey and Mike hang out as much as on that tour. They'd go out to dinner afterwards, go out and have a drink. They'd meet, they'd talk, discuss the show, and you never saw that as much in the past.
And you see the footage from the last, I think it was the last show, where Mickey's crying before they even get off stage, because you knew with Mike that unfortunately he wasn't going to go much longer. So
it became apparent, and so it's hugely emotional. But yeah, you know what? That's right, because Michael would be like, I didn't like the man. He did not mind mincing words. When, like, you heard it, he said it.
Yeah.
But then he'd turn around and get quiet for a moment, and you see a little tear, and because Peter was there. He was there at a pivotal point in his life. Yeah. We're all older and wiser now, and then we kind of let some of that stuff kind of go. I hope. Go ahead. No.
That's how I work with Mark.
Pretty much.
The daily cry.
He's there and I'm here, so it works great.
It works great, man. Thank you, COVID.
Doing it remotely has saved Richie from
killing
Yeah.
And you guys are live from Pearl Drums too. That's just really cool.
That's really cool. Yeah, Mark was telling us that.
I'm great, surrounded by like at least 60 drummers, bro. Drummers.
So Richie, you got a drummer joke for us?
Oh my God. I gotta take my phones off and crank the speakers up right now.
I don't.
That's what do you call a beautiful woman on the arm of a drummer?
The paycheck, or what is it? It's never mind. I blew it.
A tattoo.
Oh no, I haven't heard that one. That's new. I gotta write that one down.
That's cool. Great.
I love it. What's the other one? Is it? Are we allowed to curse on the show?
Yes.
Okay. What is it? What is now, this is why I don't do comedy. Hello, Mark. What is it? What does a stripper do to her asshole before work? Drop him off at his gig.
What do you do when a drummer shows up to your door?
You tip him, right?
Yeah, give him money for the pizza.
Yeah. There's a reason that these stereotypes exist. Okay? And I can say this behind a closed and locked door right now.
Well, there's we'll close on this one because we do have to go.
Okay, sorry guys, I'm just rambling on.
No, don't ever be sorry, dude.
You have to come back on.
We'll do volume 2. We'll do volume 2.
Absolutely. So the 49ers are crossing the country, and as they get about halfway across, the wagon breaks down. They're nervous. They know it. They're in bad territory. This is Indian territory. So they round up the wagons. They make a circle. They get a fire in the middle, and the guy goes, "This is the worst thing that could happen. This is Indian country. It is so dangerous." And off in the distance, they hear. He goes, "You guys hear that? Do you hear that? That is the worst sound you could possibly hear." Just then, an Indian pops up behind a rock and goes, "Yeah, he's not our normal drummer."
I like the bass variation of that one is in the jungle drums. The guide's going, drums bad. Drums get louder, drums bad. Drums stop everything's very bad. What? And then the guys in the jungle go, well, what happens when the drums stop? Bass solo. Drums bad.
That's Drake's jokes and storytelling.
That's terrible. I feel like I lost all my self-esteem from that joke.